Hey, ghost hunters and thrill seekers, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're diving deep into a tale that'll make you think twice about booking that next getaway. This isn't just your run of the mill hotel haunting. This is a story soaked in sorrow, echoing with unending grief. It's about what I heard and felt behind the walls of the Blackwood Hotel. The Blackwood Hotel, nestled in the quiet, forgotten corner of New England, was once the pinnacle of luxury. Built in the late 1800s, it boasted ornate architecture, sprawling gardens, and a guest list that included presidents and movie stars. But somewhere along the line, time and tragedy took their toll. By the time I stumbled upon it, the Blackwood was a shadow of its former self. Cheap rates, peeling wallpaper, and an unsettling silence that hung heavier than the dust motes dancing in the dim light. I was on a writing retreat, needing a place to disappear and wrestle with a stubborn manuscript. The Blackwood, with its promise of solitude and eerie charm, seemed perfect. The first few days were uneventful. I spent my time exploring the creaky hallways, admiring the faded grandeur, and writing, always writing. But then the crying started. It was faint at first, a soft, muffled sound, like a child weeping in the distance. I chalked it up to the old pipes, or maybe another guest with a bad cold. But as the days passed, the crying grew more intense, more desperate. It always seemed to emanate from the wall behind the headboard of my bed, a thin partition separating my room from, well, I didn't know what. The sobs were heart-wrenching, filled with a raw, primal pain that sent shivers down my spine. It wasn't just the sound, it was the feeling that accompanied it. A wave of overwhelming sadness would wash over me, a sense of loss so profound it felt like a physical ache. I tried to ignore it, to bury myself in my work, but the crying permeated everything, seeping into my thoughts, my dreams, my very soul. One night, fueled by too much coffee and a desperate need for answers, I decided to investigate. I pressed my ear against the wall, trying to pinpoint the source of the sound. The crying was clearer now, a woman's voice, choked with anguish. I could almost make out words, fragments of sentences lost in a sea of tears. Driven by an impulse I couldn't explain, I started tapping on the wall, a simple rhythm, like a chord. To my astonishment, the crying stopped. A moment of silence hung in the air, thick and heavy, before a faint tapping echoed back from the other side. Tap, tap, tap. My heart pounded in my chest. I tapped again, a different pattern. And again, the response came, mirroring my movements. It was a conversation of sorts, a desperate attempt at connection across the veil. Night after night, I continued my strange communication with the entity behind the wall. I learned, through fragmented taps and overwhelming feelings, her story. Her name was Eliza, and she had been a guest at the Blackwood in the early 1900s. She had come with her husband, a wealthy businessman, for a romantic getaway. But the idyll was shattered when her husband mysteriously disappeared. Some whispered of an accident, others of foul play. But Eliza never believed he was truly gone. She spent the rest of her days at the Blackwood, waiting, searching, her grief slowly consuming her until she too succumbed, her spirit forever trapped within the hotel walls. One phrase kept replaying in my mind. She never left. Knowing her story didn't make the crying any easier to bear. In fact, it intensified, as if Eliza, finally able to share her pain, was releasing a century of pent-up sorrow. The sadness in the room was suffocating. I started having nightmares, vivid dreams of loss and despair. I saw shadows in the corners of my eyes, felt cold spots in the room, and heard whispers when I was alone. The Blackwood was no longer just a place to write. It was a prison, trapping me in Eliza's endless grief. I knew I had to leave. The morning I checked out, I stood in front of the wall, my hand resting against the cold plaster. I closed my eyes and whispered, "I'm so sorry, Eliza. I hope you find peace." A single tear traced a path down my cheek. As I turned to leave, I heard it, clear as a bell, a faint whisper carried on the air. "Thank you." I never looked back. I don't know if Eliza ever found peace, but I know I needed to find my own. The Blackwood Hotel remains a monument to lost love and unending sorrow, a place where the walls themselves weep. I learned two things that day. Some places hold on to their pain, and listening can change everything. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable in a hotel? Share your stories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to like and subscribe for more spooky stories. Until next time, sleep tight and maybe listen closely to the walls.